everyone, May the 4th and all that stuff. So I often relate when I do these kind of things about Star Wars is that I am an OG original fan. I've been there from the beginning when there was Star Wars. There I was. I mean, I speak on how today's society could never, and quite frankly, never understand the impact Star Wars had on the industry, on society, on the way we looked at fiction. I mean, it was just revolutionary in every sense of the word. That was the initial Star Wars, and that was really a big deal. It really is hard to put it into words. We can talk about numbers and all that kind of stuff, but man, it really changed everything. Changed the way comic books were sold, TV, everything. People were chasing Star Wars in every industry. And even Star Wars was chasing Star Wars. I mean, there was, at the moment, there was what will this thing be? What's next? And George Lucas commissioned this novel, which was going to be the next movie, Splinters in the Mind's Eye, that was very much different than what Star Wars' second movie, The Empire Strikes Back, turned out to be. But that was the initial thought. So it was we weren't really ready. Even George Lucas wasn't ready. But when he finally got around to doing Empire Strikes Back, um, it was another huge leap. I mean, if you look at them side by side, especially if you can get an early version, the ones before the special edition and everything, the way it looked, the technology was a huge leap. I think story wise, George Lucas had a better idea of when he wanted to go. He got away from the wisp and all that kind of stuff. If you know much about the background of Star Wars and how he envisioned the Force and Jedi's and all that kind of stuff, I don't think he had the idea of Luke and Vader being related when he did New Hope, or what eventually became a New Hope. But when Star Wars Empire Strikes Back came in, it really upped the game. I mean, when New Hope, the first, came out, it was very vague, and I mentioned that in the last video I made about Star Wars. Like, it was really just this actioner that could very easily stand on his own. I mean, yeah, Darth Vader got away at the end, but the Empire lost the Death Star, and that could have been, it. But it wasn't. It got popular, and the technology got better. Um, the actors got more money, and they got to be portray themselves better. They gave a little depth to this love triangle that was kind of hinted at between Leia, Luke, and Han, and now it's a bigger thing. Empire was just bigger. I mean, it was just wow. And then it also had the dual problem of, okay, you had this moon-sized space station that could destroy entire planets. How do you top that? And for me, that was one of the weakness, if you can say about that, about Empire, was that it wasn't this big galactic battle at the end where everything was counting on what the rebels did. It started off that way with this big, huge fight on the planet, off ice planet Hoth, and the fate of the rebels and Vader's looking for Luke Skywalker and all that kind of stuff. And it ended up with a very personal quest between Luke and Darth Vader. And for me, I know a lot of people like Empire Strikes Back. They often say that that's the best of the original trilogy. I don't know, maybe I have to go back. But at the time, I didn't like this movie so much. And I didn't like it for one reason, which I will get to. So we get the ice battle on Hoth. And that really ramped things up. It started off pretty early, and it introduced and continued this thread, this legacy of fantastic vehicles and weird things with the AT-AT or AT-ATs or however you want to call it. I'm not getting into that conversation because I'm not a nerd. But it was cool. It was different, and it was really something we hadn't seen before. These basically airplanes fighting these huge walking tanks. And then it kind of slowed down with the whole Luke Skywalker training with Yoda, with the worst secret in movie history as to who Yoda was. And then there was the whole part about Han Solo, and I like that part because, quite frankly, in the original trilogy, Han Solo was far away my favorite character. I thought he was cool. Harrison Ford went on to do cool things with Indiana Jones and uh, the one when he was on the airplane. What was that? Air Force One. I mean, went on to be a great action hero, and I just thought that he was cool. Thought Han Solo was cool, and I thought that the whole thing of him evading the Empire without the advantage of warp, but not warp. Sorry, hyperspace. You know, emphasize his skill as a great uh, pilot and his ingenuity as a space pirate. I thought that was pretty cool. And then, of course, he got the girl, which was really kind of cool. Also, that was just wow. That was. I just thought that part was cool. But the Luke Skywalker on Dagobah, that was kind of boring. Uh, and then we got to the whole thing with Luke and Vader fighting. And people look at this fight now with this 21st century's eyes of, it's boring and it didn't really do very much. Maybe it did. But at the time, it was pretty cool. Luke is leaping around and Vader's just handling him all too easy. He's totally in control through the majority of the fight. And even when, I think this is the one where Luke gets a lucky blow or something, and he just like chops his hand off. Once again, establishing without a doubt that Darth Vader was the man. And then, of course, there was the big reveal of, I am your father. And that was a little, that was cinematic history because when they did it, it was like, whoa, where the heck did that come from? Because, man, you're looking back again by 21st century eyes. And at this point, all we had was Star Wars and the holiday edition, but we don't speak of the holiday edition. And it was way out of how is this possible? And we didn't even know how long the Empire had been along. When it was Luke and Leia. At this point, we don't know that they're siblings. So when were they conceived and all this kind of stuff? The Leia thing came later, and that was a big deal too. So that was like, and he puts it at the end of the movie when Vader reveals this. That's way at the end of the movie, and it kind of rushes to this somewhat anticlimactic climax. That our heroes are trying to, while Luke and Vader are having their fight, our heroes are having their trying to get back Han Solo, and then he doesn't get rescued. He gets taken away, and it was like, what happened to Han Solo? Luke Skywalker gets rescued, and Lando Calrissian joins the team, and now they're fleeing for their life on the Millennium Falcon. I mean, it was. I remember the reason. This is why I didn't like the movie. I was remember like, you gotta save Han. Because he's my favorite character. You gotta save Han. You gotta save Han. TIE fighters are coming in to intercept them, and Luke's only got one hand, so he can't fight back. And Han Solo's been loaded on Slave One, and this Boba Fett guy is taking him. And it's just like, what's going on? And then dun 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 dun, dun it's like, no, it can't be over. You didn't rescue Han Solo, and what's going on? So that became a big deal. And that left me personally unfulfilled. I was really, I don't know, upset's the right word, but I was like, man, I did not like that. I really wanted them to resolve that, or at least point some kind of direction as to what the fate of Han Solo was and where he was going. We hadn't had Jabba at this point. That was introduced later with the special editions and all that stuff. So we don't even know where he's going. I mean, we know of Jabba. He mentions Jabba, but we never see him. So yeah, that was kind of a big deal, And I'm still relatively young when this movie came out, and it was also awesome. Not nearly as awesome as I think New Hope was. New Hope was awesome because it just broke new grounds. Empire Strikes Back was awesome because it's like, okay, hold my beer kind of thing. I mean, we'd already been to this stuff. We had an expectation of when you hear Star Wars, it's going to be, you know, innovative and visually exciting, and story is going to be good. And Empire did not fail to deliver. I mean, it was a good movie, and all parties involved were happy. And so, maybe next year I'll talk about my reflections upon uh, Return of the Jedi. But yeah, Empire was. I mean, from the moment you sit down, it looks so much better than Star Wars. And it wasn't. I mean, it was what 77 to 80 or something like that. That's not a huge amount of time, but man, it looked really good. And everybody was had grown into their roles, and it was implied that some time had passed, or their relationships had changed and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was a good time to be a Star Wars fan. So hey, you know what? May the fourth be with you. I hope you enjoy, wherever it is that that takes your reflections, or looking forward to new Star Wars properties or whatever. This is your day. Enjoy. What's your thoughts about Star Wars? What's your original Star Wars, introduction? Who is it? Is it the prequels, the originals, trilogy, or the sequels, or maybe some TV show? Maybe droids. Not droids. Comment below.